Welcome to another episode of the Football and Travel Show, the informative hub for match-going fans as well as travelers and football fans alike. In episode 9, we will be looking over at Copa America 2024. The Copa America is CONMEBOL's international trophy to determine the champion of South America. It's the longest standing national team competition in the world, being played non-stop since 1916. The most condecorated teams are Argentina and Uruguay, with 15 trophies each. For this edition, CONMEBOL and the North American Confederation CONCACAF decided to team up for a second time. We'll be seeing a 16-team tournament with all 10 CONMEBOL nations and 6 qualifying nations from CONCACAF, including the host, the United States of America, similar to in 2016. There will be 14 stadiums used across the tournament. Ecuador were originally supposed to host this tournament, however in November 2022 they had declined the opportunity. Peru and the United States both expressed interest to host this year's edition of Copa America. Ultimately, thanks to the strategic partnership between CONMEBOL and CONCACAF, USA won the hosting rights. Now let's look over to the host cities, starting with Atlanta. Its stadium, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, is the home of MLS club Atlanta United. It will host 2 group games, including the opening game between Argentina and Canada, as well as the USA's second game against Panama. We're going over to Texas as we look at Houston. Its stadium is the NRG Stadium. It will host 2 group stage games and 1 quarterfinal. Houston is also home to one of the few NASA space stations in the USA, this one called Johnson Space Center, named after Lyndon B. Johnson. Continuing in Texas, we go westwards to Austin. Its host stadium is the QR Stadium, home to Austin FC. One of the smaller stadiums of the tournament, it will host 2 group stage games. Going northwards, we go to Arlington, near Dallas, where we find the AT&T Stadium, which will host 2 group stage games, including the host's first game, USA versus Bolivia. It will also host 1 quarterfinal. We will now hear more about Arlington and its stadium with Ryan Edward Fortune, as he's with the host and the show's creator, Mats.
So welcome to the show, Ryan. Good to have you on here. Before we start talking about each of the host cities, I'll quickly ask, what's your expectation for USA at this Copa America?
Yeah, so for USA, I think our expectations would be definitely to get out of the group. You know, realistically, could we make a semifinal? Could we make a final? I mean, that would be incredible. We're still missing that sort of signature win under Greg Berhalter. So our group is Bolivia, Panama, and Uruguay. So we should get out of that group. First 2 games being Bolivia and then Panama. So you're looking at 6 points, and then we're into the next round. That Uruguay game, it might not necessarily mean anything more than just coming first or second. And if you look who we have to play in that next game, it's either going to be Brazil or Colombia. So there's not really, I don't know if you could say, oh, I'd rather play Brazil or rather play Colombia, because they're both top teams. So I'll be interested to see if that Uruguay game is a game where we go in and we're really competing to win, or if maybe we're resting players at that stage. I would like us to try and go for it. I know Uruguay is probably at the moment the form team in South America. They're doing so well in qualifying. So I'd like us to see us go for that. But definitely we get out of the group, and then it comes into that massive match. Is it Brazil? Is it Colombia? Either way, it's Berhalter's probably his biggest game. And if we can get that win, I think it silences a lot of the critics. And then who knows? If we win that game, we could really make a run and start, who knows, talking about going to the final, you know? But yeah, right now, I'd say definitely out of the group. And then after that, we'll see.
All right, so on to Arlington. Tell us about Arlington and the AT&T Stadium. And what was your recent Nations League experience like?
Yeah, so I was just in Arlington, saw the USA play their Nations League finals there. So saw 2 games. USA played Jamaica, beat them, and then USA played Mexico, beat them. Great experience for the matches. And the stadium itself is a huge stadium. Dallas Cowboys play there, the NFL team. So your views of the pitch aren't particularly great, if I'm honest. It's built for that NFL, so the sight lines really aren't ideal for soccer. You're a bit kind of further back. But, you know, it's easy to enter the stadium. I think that's the good thing with a lot of these American stadiums. You never really wait too long. The downsides I would see about Arlington is it's kind of removed from everything. So Arlington is a sort of a smaller city in between two major cities, which is Dallas and Fort Worth. So most people are most likely going to stay in Dallas or Fort Worth and then kind of drive to Arlington because there's not a whole lot there in Arlington. So definitely I would say that, probably stay in Dallas. That's where I would recommend. There's a lot to do there. Really good like nightlife scene, bar scene. You can kind of get that really authentic Texas experience. And then it's about 30 minutes drive to AT&T Stadium, and then you're sorted.
Right, thanks for that. Closer to Houston, there is one of the best barbecue restaurants in the USA, Snow's Barbecue, open between 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. on Saturdays. Gordon Ramsay's even visited there at least twice and had a great experience. Would that be worth visiting?
So I personally have never been. Barbecue in Texas, it's such a huge thing, right? I mean, it's like one of the main things to do. I looked up Snow's Barbecue. It's like 3 or 4 hours away. So I don't know if you really want to venture that far. There are some really good spots in Dallas. So definitely recommend trying to check it out there. But yeah, I mean, if you're a real foodie and that's what you're into, by all means, go for a drive. In Texas, you can drive really fast on the highways. So who knows? Maybe you can get there even faster.
And as a hot state and Arlington's away from the coast, what should fans expect from the weather?
Yeah, so Arlington during the summer, you're going to be looking at probably about 90 degrees Fahrenheit, so about 30s Celsius, so really, really hot. So yeah, definitely, get the sunblock out, get the hats out. The only good thing is the stadium itself. It's enclosed stadium. It's got a roof. So inside it's going to be more like your regular climates, thinking about like 70 Fahrenheit, 20 Celsius. So you're okay for the match. Just the most important thing is, stay cool, stay hydrated.
Anything else to share?
So, I talked a lot about Dallas being the spot you want to be if you're going to AT&T Stadium. But before and after the match, there's this sort of area of bars. It's got a massive screen as well. It's called Texas Live. Definitely check that out. Highly recommend that. And that way you'll be able to, let the crowds dissipate, get a few beers into you, sorted.
We'll now go to the first of the two Kansas City venues. This one is in Missouri. Its venue, Arrowhead Stadium, will host two group stage games, including USA versus Uruguay. Next, we will go to Kansas City in Kansas. Its stadium is the Children's Mercy Park, and it will host two group stage games. It's also the smallest stadium at the tournament. Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. We're not in Kansas. We're in Glendale, whose venue, State Farm Stadium, will host two group stage games and one quarterfinal. Over in Nevada, we go to the famous city of Las Vegas, home to the famous casino, lit-up buildings, and the Allegiant Stadium. It will host two group stage games and one quarterfinal. We will now hear again from Ryan Edward Fortune, who's going to talk more about Las Vegas and the Allegiant Stadium.
What can you tell us about Las Vegas and the Allegiant Stadium?
I mean, Las Vegas it's a cracking city. I know, everyone kind of goes there as, big party destination, big weekend for the boys. It's a great spot. People think it's very much centered around gambling, and it is. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of things beyond gambling. I think that's why they've built this Allegiant Stadium. They've brought in a lot of these sports teams, big musical acts. Because they're trying to give Las Vegas more than just the gambling. There's a lot of things to do. There's these massive pools at the resorts, kind of these great like clubs during the day. So there's a lot to do in Las Vegas besides gambling. It's a really fun town. You should definitely check it out. As for the stadium, really good stadium, really modern. Again, it's built for the NFL, but the sightlines are a lot better than, say, Arlington is. It's a little bit more inclined, so a little bit better views. Stadium's right in the city, so easy to get to. It's right next door to a casino called the Mandalay Bay, so you can go in and out of there pretty easily, and that's really the spot you want to go for all your like pre-match drinking and afterwards drinking. There's clubs in there. It's a really good time. So yeah, can't speak highly enough of Las Vegas and your experience at the Allegiant Stadium.
You sold that to me. Are the tourist attractions such as the famous casino worth visiting and doing?
I think so. I mean, even if you're not a big gambler, if you go to Las Vegas, you can just spend $20, $50. You don't have to spend a lot. and just have a bit of fun with it. Do a bit of blackjack, do a bit of sports betting. Just don't spend a lot, and you can have fun with it. You're in Las Vegas. I mean, this is what you do. So definitely give it a try, and just don't do the slots. I think that's a scam. But yeah, definitely check out the casinos.
I suppose my advice would it's not worth chasing your losses. If you don't necessarily want to participate, then I'm guessing it would be worth just watching it as well.
It's very interesting to see to people watch in Las Vegas. You got all different types of people there from all around the world, so it's really quite interesting.
Do you have any other thoughts about the city?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there with Las Vegas, you can go really, really high end. There are like, super luxury hotels, $1,000 night type places. But, I'd recommend the Oyo Hotel, really cheap budget hotel. You got like $2 beers downstairs. You got a Hooters downstairs. So I mean, you're just having a laugh. Oyo Hotel, check it out.
And now over to Inglewood near Los Angeles. We have SoFi Stadium, which will host two group stage games. Up next, we look at Santa Clara, near to San Francisco, where its venue is Levi's Stadium. It will host two group games and is home to a number of sports teams. We now fly all the way eastwards as we look at the MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. Host of the final in 2016, it will now host two group stage games and one semi-final. The MetLife Stadium will also be venue to the next World Cup final in 2026. As an expert of the stadium and the area, we will hear again from Ryan to tell us more.
As a long-time expert of the MetLife Stadium, what can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so the MetLife Stadium is a huge stadium. Again, it's one of those NFL stadiums. It's where the New York Giants, New York Jets play, if you're familiar with the NFL. Really big stadium. It's hosted big events, the Super Bowl, but also big football events as well. The 2016 Copa America final between Argentina and Chile was played there. The World Cup final coming up is going to be played at MetLife. So it's a huge stadium, on the site of the old Giant Stadium. So it's really, historic sort of area. But yeah, again, so it's an NFL stadium. So maybe the sight lines probably aren't the best for soccer. If you're looking to kind of get the best match experience, definitely try and be in the lower bowl. When you're getting all the way at the top of the stadium, it can be a little bit, the incline is quite severe. So if you kind of don't like heights or anything, it can be quite sharp. But yeah, it's a huge stadium. I mean, I think it's 82,000. It could probably be a lot more if there wasn't so many club seats and fancy seats like that. So really good stadium.
What can you tell us about New Jersey and how does it differentiate from New York City?
Yeah, I mean, so New Jersey is sort of, if you're thinking, New Jersey is a little bit more, it's much more suburban than New York. New York's just, very, cities and lots of high rises and things like that. New Jersey is a lot more like suburbs. So yeah, it's just a different way of life. I mean, a lot of people maybe in their 20s or 30s, they're living in New York City, and they maybe when they start wanting to have like a family or things like that, they move out to New Jersey, a bit more space, but the air is a bit fresher, things like that. And yeah, I mean, New Jersey, if you're going to the tournament and you want maybe a cheaper place to stay, New Jersey accommodation is probably going to be cheaper. I'm sure Manhattan is always really expensive, so the opportunities to stay in New Jersey, it should be significantly cheaper. So definitely look into that.
And up next, what are the best ways to get to the MetLife Stadium from New York City?
Yeah, so it's very easy what they've done to get people to and from MetLife. So if you're in Midtown Manhattan, basically, or anywhere in New York City, you want to get to Midtown Manhattan, the big train station there, it's called Penn Station. So from there, you take a train, takes you to New Jersey about 15 minutes. It's to a station called Secaucus. And then from Secaucus, it's another 15 minutes on a different train to the stadium. Pretty easy. It should take you all about 30 minutes. On match days, those trains should run fairly regularly. So it's a very easy, convenient way, and probably one of the easiest stadiums to get to that's kind of not in the city in the US. Yeah, I mean, just give New Jersey a try. I mean, I know that a lot of people, they go to New York and, that's what they want to see, but there's a lot of good things to do in New Jersey. I mean, you got the Jersey Shore and all that. So yeah, definitely check it out if you've got the opportunity.
Thank you, Ryan. And now we will go southwards to Charlotte, whose venue, Bank of America Stadium, will host one semi-final and the third place playoff game. It's the only stadium not to host a group stage match, and it's home to Charlotte FC and the Carolina Panthers. Yet again, we will hear from Ryan to tell us more about the city and the stadium.
So Charlotte is a city that isn't as well known as some of the others in the States. What can you tell us about Charlotte?
Yeah, so Charlotte it's a real up and coming city in the U.S. Last couple decades, even the last decade, it's really grown. It's kind of like one of the major financial centers now. A lot of the sort of the back office operations of what they're doing on Wall Street in New York, a lot of that back office stuff is now being done in Charlotte. So it's been a big boom in the local economy with all these people sort of moving into Charlotte. Bank of America, actually, which is the title sponsor for the stadium, I think is now headquartered in Charlotte or has been headquartered. So yeah, it's a real boom town. It's probably the most, the biggest growing city in the U.S. So definitely a good spot to be.
Well, this stadium, having hosted a Gold Cup game between US and Trinidad in the past, what's Bank of America Stadium like, and how would you get there?
So Bank of America Stadium, really cool stadium, right in the city center. So if you're staying anywhere in the city, really easy to go to. You can probably walk there. There's some pretty nice streets nearby, kind of like UK style, where like pubs and bars, you can drink. It's a really good time. Can't speak highly enough of it. The stadium itself, again, it's like an NFL stadium, but the sight lines are okay for an NFL stadium. You can get a pretty good view anywhere in the ground, so it's pretty nice. They have, as we were saying off camera a bit, they've just got this new MLS team, or relatively new, Charlotte FC, and they routinely bring in 30,000-40,000 people. So it's definitely going to have a good atmosphere. And yeah, definitely check out Bank of America Stadium.
What else do you have to comment about Charlotte as a city?
Yeah, I mean, it's got a lot of green spaces, a lot of parks, so definitely check those out. It's nice to kind of walk around and have a look at everything, but again, definitely like really good for that pre-match atmosphere. I think it's called Church Street, which is like the main bar near the main road near the stadium, and it's got so many good bars, and they're built for soccer or football. They're built for it. Like, these are not, other sports. This is like football bars, and really good for it. Creates a great atmosphere. So definitely check those out.
So thanks, Ryan, for coming on, helping inform us and the viewers about the venues you know of in Copa America. Where can the people find you?
Great to be on, the Match channel. Big it up. It was so good to be on here. So much fun. Really enjoyed talking about the Copa America venues. It's going to be a great summer of footy. So I'm Ryan Everfortune. I primarily cover the U.S. national team. I go to all the big away matches, all the big matches, finals and all that. So go over to my YouTube channel. That's where I am primarily. Search Ryan Everfortune on YouTube. Check it all out. Some really good stuff on there. It's going to be a great summer for content. But right now, I'm down in Brazil doing something a little different, going to all the big clubs here, telling their story before the Copa America. So if any of that stuff interests you, search Ryan Everfortune on YouTube. It's great. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Ryan, for the final time. We'll now go to Florida. The first of its two venues is Orlando. Its stadium, Inter & Co. Stadium, will host two group stage games. Orlando is also home to Florida Disneyland and Universal Studios theme park. And finally, we look over to Miami. Its venue is the Hard Rock Stadium, which will host two group stage games, and it will be the venue for the final, where Lionel Messi will hope to reach familiar territory. His club, Inter Miami, plays in the city. Argentina will also play Peru here in the group stage. So that was the tournament preview. What are your thoughts? Will you be going, or are you excited? Special thanks to Ryan and to Matt for having me voiceover. You can find me over at Rank Talks Ball if you are interested in more South American football content, where I'll be covering the Copa America myself. All interaction is appreciated, and as for the Copa America, ¡Vamos Argentina!